Welcome back to Sioux Falls and Summer League Basketball Media Day here at the Downtown Holiday Inn, and Western Illinois is up next, joined again by Brad Newitt and JD Gravina, the head coach of the Western Illinois women. And welcome. How are you, sir?
Thanks. I'm doing well. It's good to be here. I've got a 1-month-old at home, so it's nice to get out of the house and get a good night's sleep.
Congratulations. You guys are both Kansas City guys. Kansas guys, big Kansas City Chiefs fans. Absolutely. It's fun right now.
Yeah, I went out and watched the game a little bit last night, so it was the Patrick Mahomes show. It was fun to watch.
Yeah. You are from where originally?
I'm from Kansas City, Missouri.
All right.
The good side of Kansas City.
Oh, what
All right, let's talk some hoops here, and congrats on the new baby, and congrats on a really good run that you guys are on right now. 26 wins a couple of years ago. 22 wins last year. That is a big number, especially in a good league. You guys won 10 games in the league last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was two of the best years in Western Illinois women's basketball history. And, you know, obviously now it's kind of that time to see if we're for real in the long term or if it was kind of a short-term thing. So I'm excited about that new challenge. I mean, I don't want to call the last couple of years boring, but from a coaching standpoint, we had the same players running the same system. So getting some new faces in there has been a little bit more of a fun challenge from a coaching perspective.
And a little look here at Emily Clemens and Olivia Braun and Morgan Bloomer and Taylor Hanneman and all those really good seniors you had a year ago. Knew it. This was a special team, wasn't it?
It really was. I mean, I thought the chemistry you guys had over those 2 years, you know, that kind of led up to the wins that Tom was talking about, were just terrific. And you guys were such a fun team to watch. You were high octane offensively. You played pressure defense. One of the things I'm curious about is now that you have a lot of new players is, do you, as a coach, try to recruit to your system of what you've installed, or do you realize, maybe we're going to have to do something a little bit different now that we have some new bodies and new faces?
Yeah, so that was a conversation we had, you know, with our coaching staff. And I think one thing that's helped that consistency is to have kind of a consistent coaching staff, which at this level is incredibly difficult. So, you know, I've had my associate head coach, Seth Minner, with me for 8 seasons now. So Coach Sidney Crafton's been here 4 seasons now. So, you know, when we have that type of consistency, they know what we're looking for in the recruiting process. And I think we've been able to finally recruit to our system, especially now that we've gone to that kind of unique matchup zone.
Sure.
That's helped us a little bit in recruiting, being able to get the skilled offensive players that we need that can kind of have the strengths for the zone, length and quickness, as opposed to just size, strength, and athleticism that you need more if you're a man-to-man team.
Emily Clemens is hanging around, right? She's an assistant this year?
We found a way to keep her around. So
nice.
We were going to, she was going to be our graduate assistant this year, and then Taylor Ignoto got the head coaching job at Rock Valley Junior College, and we convinced Emily to hang around for at least 1 year. So she's already been doing a great job. I mean, talk about, you know, a great opportunity for those young players to learn from her, you know, who's been through it for 4 years and seen our program go from pretty mediocre to really successful. We're lucky to have her.
All right, and Brad touched on it. You led the Summer League in scoring overall in the last couple of years, up there around 80 points a game overall in 3-point field goals made and steals. And Taylor Higginbotham is going to be your only senior, I believe, coming back. Another really good player, 5'10", but a player that can score and pretty much do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I'm excited for her to be a player that we have returning. I mean, when you lose 4 starters to graduation, you know, experience is going to be a big issue, and bringing Taylor back as a really experienced player, I think, is going to be big for us. And she does everything that we need. You know, she can stretch the floor out with her shooting. She can attack the basket. What I've really noticed so far in practice is her kind of veteran approach to our offensive movement has been huge for us, because when she's on the floor, it makes everyone else better. You know, we run all motion, so there's not a lot of real structured rules. So we need someone out there that can really kind of communicate on our offensive movements and get things going. And you know, I think it'll be a little bit of a challenge for her, being that only really returning kid that's played and had any experience, of not feeling like I've got to be the go-to player, because that's not really the way our team's operated, really, especially since maybe Ashley Luke was the last one, where just kind of feed her the ball and let her go to town. But even with Emily Clemens, you know, she still played within the team system, even as good of numbers as she's put in. I think Taylor's really willing to do that so far this year, and so that's big for us.
You talk about motion offense. Talk about how difficult this is, where you don't have set plays for the most part, but you're running motion. High school teams have a hard time with this because they're not sure what to do. It takes some getting used to, doesn't it, the motion offense?
It does. It's funny when people come in, kids come in, they think it'll be an easier adjustment because there's not as much structure, they can just go out and play, and it's the opposite. You know, it's easy to learn that you pass and then screen away here, but it's a lot tougher to figure out. You pass, you have about 8 different options, and out of those options you have to read which way the defense goes and how you go from there. So I do think it takes a little bit more time, and really our new kids are just now starting to pick up our motion offense, and you know, that's with a full summer and already a couple months in of preseason and then practice.
All right. And
yeah, talk a little bit about some of the new kids that you are going to bring. You have 6 freshmen coming in, and then also interested in 2 transfers that they're both from Parkland Community College. Is that correct? Talk a little bit about them.
Yeah, so we Kira Washington is one that gives us some height, but can really stretch the floor. One of the best shooters I've ever seen. So, and she's got the length to play defensively, and she can run for our offensive system. So we were pretty excited to kind of get on her. And then we actually, unfortunately, had a season-ending injury. Believe it or not, I've been here 8 years. I had never had a season-ending injury, and we had 2 in the same day. So Sam Pryor tore ACL at Open Gym, and then thousands of miles away, our newcomer from Spain was playing with the Spanish national team and tore her labrum, and so they're both out for the season. So that was really hard to deal with, and we kind of got lucky and had a connection to Avery Ham, who was our other transfer from Parkland, and we feel really lucky to get her practice. She fits into our system just awesome, and is really going to provide kind of that Taylor Hanneman type of shooting ability, and is picking things up quickly. So I'm excited about those 2 transfers.
yeah, awful news on Pryor. And any kid that goes down like that. One other player that is coming back, Olivia Kaufman, will be a junior. Talk about her a little bit.
Olivia is, I think, going to have a really breakout season. And she's a different player than Emily Clemens, but she's a little bit Emily Clemens-esque. And I think when Michelle Maher graduated, Emily really benefited from that, just as far as having the ball in her hands more, having more opportunities. Now I think Olivia is going to benefit from Emily graduating just in that way. She'll miss playing with Emily and that leadership and being set up. But now Olivia will have the ball in her hand a lot more, and she is a playmaker. So I'm extremely excited about her. I've really got 4 kids, I think, that could have breakout seasons. The key word there is could. It's good. You're kind of hoping for that and depending on that. But Olivia Kaufman would probably be the top kid that I think would have a chance to be an all-conference caliber player.
And you talked about you don't really in the past years where you have really good teams. It hasn't been one player, but Emily Clemens did not have the ball in her hands all the time like we thought she did last year when she's led the league in scoring and assists and everything else.
That's right. I mean, I still think she really played the team concept. I mean, you have a girl that set the league record for assists. Yeah. So we've always played that way. I don't think we necessarily have the athletes that can just go completely toe-to-toe and try to score one-on-one all the time. We have kids that can get around people and draw help and make dump passes or kicks. And so that's one thing I think this team will do a tremendous job of. We've really been playing well together in practice, maybe the best of any team that I've had. So we may not have the individual stars as far as on paper returning, but I think as far as our overall team, especially our top 4 or 5 kids, I think could be as good of an offensive movement team concept as we've had.
All right, before we get to look ahead to the schedule here, you guys are both stat geeks, and that is a compliment, and I think that's true, right? I think you had a talk, was it this summer at a coaches convention about analytics and how that can benefit you in basketball.
Absolutely.
I'm going to chime in here.
Yeah.
How deep into this are you?
Yeah, let's hear about it.
I'm pretty deep into it. My degree is in math and computer science, and then my master's in economics. So I've always been kind of a numbers guy, and really just the last couple years, women's basketball has gotten the numbers needed to run some analytics. So before you're comparing it to, NBA teams and maybe college men and looking at their numbers and trying to apply it to women. But now with the analytics that Synergy provides and then her hoop stats that just kind of came on the market here the last couple years, now we've got the analytics that we need. So we're pretty heavy into it. It's something we use much more as our coaching staff because I don't like our players to overthink. Yeah. So they may not know all the things that go into our thought process, but I'm really big on. That's why you see a lot of the transition offense, because when you look at the analytics, it's overwhelmingly saying that the earlier you shoot in the possession, the better. And defensively, the bad thing about being a numbers guy is a couple years ago I looked at our numbers and we were like the bottom 4 percentile in the nation defensively. So the good thing about that is we had absolutely nothing to lose, and we just completely took some risk and revamped things, and we've moved up into the top third of the nation. So that's been pretty fun.
So can you give us I'm not asking for any secrets, but can you give us at least a nugget of maybe a stat that the average basketball fan would pay no attention to that you would put some value on?
I think one of the most valuable numbers we look at is the transition offense and defense percentage. So what most coaches will look at is the points per possession in transition offense and defense, but we look at the percentage because every team, again, is better in transition offense. So you don't want to give up shots in transition. Sure. So if we can have a team only getting shots, our goal is 10 or 12% defensively, and our goal on offense is 25%. 5% to get a shot. That really gives us a huge advantage. I think that's almost skewed our numbers when you talk about our not only points per game, but we've been the top 4 or 5 percentile in points per possession as well. They've been good numbers and show that kind of what we're doing is working.
Okay. All right, quick look at the schedule here for Western Illinois coming up, and a couple of games in the preseason here, Coach. Missouri, you get Drake, a couple of NCAA tournament teams from a year ago. What do you got coming up before you get into the Summer League season?
Yeah, so, I mean, we're really excited to have Missouri come into Western Hall. I mean, you guys know how tough it is to get a BCS opponent, and I think they'll probably be a top 25 ranked team in the nation. So we've had a good relationship with Robin Pinchton. We've gone there a couple times, and I think it was really cool of her to be willing to come back to Macomb and play. It'll be awesome for our community and really our region. Coach Seth Minard talked about how he's been here 8 years. This may be his last year after he put together this schedule because our first, we have the non-D1 in there, but other than that, our first 4 games are just brutal, especially for an inexperienced team with Missouri Drake, who has dominated the Missouri Valley, and then Purdue and Butler. But then I think we kind of normalize into some peer teams, and that will hopefully help us prepare for conference play.
All right, our social media questions now for Coach JD Gravina, and let's go to Elena Lansing.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, first question is from Chuck DeYoung. He used to have a coach that would tape their goggles so that would block the view of the ball when dribbling. He wants to know if you have any props that you use other than the hoop and the ball during practice.
You know, it's funny. I put up a picture after I saw that question on Twitter of Emily Clemens wearing those glasses when she was in like 5th grade. So obviously, Chuck, those work. I'm not a big kind of gadget guy. We play a lot of live play. We do a lot of live drills. I love to watch those trainers who have, cones and hurdles and chairs and everything else set up. But my basic philosophy, if it's not out there during the game, we really don't want it out there in practice. It's a good question, though.
One more question.
All right, you guys aren't far removed from the Summit League Tournament championship game. So what's it going to take to get back there?
It's going to take our younger kids to really all have a breakout season and gain that experience quickly. I think when you get into tournament time, that's where, even though that's towards the end of your season, that's where experience pays off the most. And we had some kids, that had been there a couple years. And so for them to kind of gain that experience and be willing to learn from people like Emily Clemens on the sideline, I think will be really helpful.
All right.
And last fan question, what's the weakness right now and how are you guys going to clean that up before season?
I think rebounding is always a weakness for us just because of the way we recruit for skilled offensive players and in our zone. I joked with our team that I'm not expecting to get any rebounds during the game, so every rebound we get is a bonus. And our turnover margin has been spectacular, so that's kind of helped leverage that out. But rebounding will be a challenge.
All right. Appreciate it. JD Gravina, looking forward to a great season with the Western Illinois women. When we come back here on Summer League Media Day, Billy Wright and the Western Illinois men.